who are going to be Hall of Famers. So when the ball gets down to crunch time, we're going to DeMar. He knows what to do with the basketball. Max has played really well. Keegan obviously is a fantastic defender and a 3-and-D type of player, so we understand that when he's available, whoever their best guy is, normally 1 through 4, and sometimes even 5, Keegan can guard them. So there's a lot of things that we can lean on when we put ourselves in that position. But like I told you guys before the game, all of that goes out the window, because the first thing that you got to do in this league is compete. If you don't, you will get drugged, period.
Obviously, no moral victories or whatever in the game, but Nique and Max both played pretty well. 12 and 12 for Max. Mm-hmm. Nique 18 points. What have you been seeing I know we ask you this a lot, but at their development, they're both seeming to kind of find a rhythm for themselves.
I think when I look at Nique, you just and both of them really, and it's someone who went through you have to go through the league first. That's the first time they see Kawhi. That's the first time they see James Harden. Nique got some fouls against him that he's like, what did I do? And I'm just like, listen, man, you got to put yourself in the right position. You got to make sure that you're physical. You can't wait for him to hit you. You have to hit him first. There are little things that he's just got to learn. The same with Max. We're running pick and roll, or they're running pick and rolls, and he's backing up. I'm gonna show him on film, man. Stand your ground. At some point, you got to draw a line in the sand and say, nah, man, you ain't coming in here. Now, whatever happens on the backside after that, that's for your teammate to deal with. But it ain't coming through you. And those are the things, as rookies, that they have to figure out. First play of the game, he was calling the wrong call, and Keegan looked at me, and I said, he's a rookie. What do you want? It's the lights are on, it's Kawhi. We have to live with some of those mistakes from Max and Nique. But I will tell you that they're not coming from a bad place. Those kids is trying, they're figuring it out, and that's everything that we can ask for from them, and they continue to improve. But the bumps and bruises that they're going to get along the way is part of what you have to go through in this league to figure it out. And they will. I mean, I'm not worried about that. Even leaving him in, we had getting ready to sub, and I sent Drew back. I want him to get into the deep end and swim a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Stay out there. I know it hurts, and you're trying to figure it out, and I think he had been in for 10 minutes. That's a long time to be in the game, and he's running and moving, but he has to go through those parts to find himself, and both of them will, yeah.
Coach, during the stretch, Max, defensively, he's kind of been really good on the boards, but during the stretch, he's faced a heavy load of different centers. How you can say that's enhancing his growth at a rapid speed with different centers?
It's a good question. He played against Steven Adams for the first time, and Steven held him off with one arm and then grabbed a rebound, and then a couple games later, I watched him do that to somebody else. Understanding that if he wants to stop somebody at the free throw line, he has to start at the three-point line. If he wants him on the block, then he has to start at the free throw line to stop him at the block. These are just little leverage things and different things. Guys ducking in on him because he's looking the opposite way. You got to understand all these things. But for him, he has to go through it. You got to get beat up a little bit to really take pride in it, to understand what the weight room means, understand what balance and leverage mean, understanding what doing your work early means, understanding what communicating early to your teammate means. These are things that he's had a lot of flashes of brilliance, but to be the player that I really think and we think that he can be, he's got to go through it and find ways. I mean, he had 12 rebounds for offensive. I thought he could have had more. I thought he could have stopped the ball earlier. But these are little things that I'll pick out on the film, pull him aside, and just let him tell me what he sees first before I give him the answer. And then once he tells me what he sees, then we go down the rabbit hole of how he can be better.
Doug, I had two quick ones for you. First of all, do you feel like effort, hustle is something that can be coached?
if it has to be, coach, this is the wrong team to be on.
And then secondly, for your 29th in offensive rating coming into the night before these LA games, it was a 5-game stretch where it felt like you guys were clicking there. What were you seeing in those games that hasn't been the case here recently?
Yeah, we had some practice days, and the word that I would use is continuity. Like, understanding how to play with two bigs is a little bit different in today's game because a lot of people play with smalls and, but stylistically, the one thing that we want to make sure is that we get the rebound, because if you don't get the rebound, you're still on defense, and that's important. So stopping them and making sure that we getting the rebound is big. So the continuity, I thought, when we started flowing was there, meaning one big was down, one was up, pick and roll comes, he's rolling, you swing the ball across, now there's a step up. They knew where to be and kind of how to vibe together. And if we go ISO early, it kind of gets us out of whack because the bigs are like, where am I supposed to be at because the spacing's not right. And it's something I talked to him about, like, listen, we want to push the ball up the court and we want to be aggressive early, but if you don't have it, let's not go ISO. Let's, in that middle part of the clock, that second 8 seconds, let's get into something that's organized. So now we got proper spacing. Once you got proper spacing, now you put the defense in better position that you can take advantage of them. And when we go ISO, we don't do that. So that's part of, in my opinion, what you're seeing in these last couple games. Prior to that, with that practice time, they had a pretty good continuity of where they're supposed to be, how they're flowing together, and when they do that, it's definitely better.
Coach, how important is it for those bumps and bruises for the younger players like Nique, as you mentioned, for them to develop, in this league?
It's a rite of passage, man. Like you got to go through it, because a lot of times what you see in this league is, even with a team, like they'll go through and they'll have success for a year and then they come back and you're like, oh, what happened? Because this league figures you out. So for them, they have to go through, and I talked to Nique about keeping a journal and like tonight, what did you see in Kawhi? What did you see in Harden? Jot it down, because by the time the season's over, if you do that for all the players, and he has a big responsibility of 2-3 players a night, if he just makes a couple notes, not a lot, a couple notes, all of a sudden he builds up this vast amount of knowledge that he goes back and he looks, and next time he plays them, now he can try something different. Like, okay, I got that one, I locked that one in. He gonna make him show you something different. But if you don't take advantage of this time, if you don't go through and have all of those bumps and bruises, that rookie year kind of drag into the next year, and before you know it, then you kind of get labeled, and those are things that we don't want for our players. The player development is big. They gotta take this stuff serious, and that's why I talk to them about things like that, because that's something that I did as a young player, was a journal, and before I knew it, like, you're playing against the best in the business, and you understand what they do, and that doesn't mean you're going to stop them, but I'll be damned if you don't think about it, you ain't got a chance in hell. You understand? Because these players are good, man, and they trying to do the right things, but it's mightily important, and we here for them. We're going to support them. We're going to show them film. We're going to develop them and keep working with them. And the biggest part of all of that is that they good kids and they want to be good. So they stay in the gym, they listen, they do the right things. And when you get enough of them, then you start to fight the right way.